to Bipolar Light. We're going to do some interesting things today, talk about some interesting things. I discovered, my name is Jay Carter, by the way, Dr. Jay Carter, and I'm the author of The Idiot's Guide to Bipolar Disorder. I'm the idiot that wrote it for very little money. We're going to talk about some, I think, pretty cool things today. We're going to talk about the mind and how it works, and I discovered a lot of these things through working with bipolar disorder. I've been training people across the country. I've done over 25,000 mental health professionals in the last 8 years. Prior to that, prior to doing the bipolar seminar, I was doing anger management seminar. But that got me upset, so now I do bipolar. And we're going to talk about bipolar disorder and really in relation to how the brain works with that, which is how it works in many other ways. So it's not just about bipolar. We're going to talk about how drugs and alcohol gets mixed up in some of this, and we're going to talk about relationships, and we're going to do all this in a half hour. Okay. First of all, let's put up the charts. The first chart, I want to show you how the brain works and how the brain is set up. We have the prefrontal lobe. That's in the front of your brain, of course. That is that part of you that is the last thing to develop in the brain. It probably starts kicking in around adolescence. It starts lighting up with some activity. All the way in the back there's the limbic system, which I call the mammal part of the human being. And then just behind the prefrontal lobe, and possibly even a part of it, there's the logic or cognitive area of our brain. And that's the second thing to light up, usually. First, when we're born, we're little puppy dogs. We're little mammals. And right now, your mammal is sitting there looking at this, and it doesn't understand a single thing I'm saying. But it follows commands very well. The human body follows our commands pretty well. So my mammal is pretty obedient, except when I walk down the candy aisle in the supermarket. When I do that, my mammal reaches for the Hershey's Kisses. And it doesn't matter how well I've been doing on my diet. It doesn't matter how this is going to affect my health in the long run. If it sees those Hershey's Kisses, it's going to grab them. Why does it do that? Well, because it's programmed that way. We're all programmed, the mammal part of us anyway, is programmed for one thing, survival. And how are we programmed? Well, you learn this in Psych 1. We're programmed that pleasure is good and pain is bad. In other words, pleasure is pro-survival and pain is anti-survival. Out in Mother Nature, that's pretty much true. If it feels good, it's good for you. Tastes good, good for you. Doesn't feel good, not good for you. Doesn't taste good, better not eat it. But in our society, we have things that feel good and taste good, but they're not necessarily good for you. Like cocaine, for example. Too much alcohol, for example. And in my case, chocolate. And the mammal gets confused. Actually, the mammal never gets confused. In order to be confused, you'd have to have enough of a mind to be confused, and it doesn't have enough of a mind to be confused. It simply snorts the cocaine, drinks the alcohol, and eats the chocolate. There's no confusion there. But see, the mammal isn't that bright. So if I don't walk down the candy aisle, it doesn't see the Hershey's Kisses, and it doesn't grab them. But if I'm over in the dairy section, but I'm fantasizing a little bit too much about Hershey's Kisses, The mammal will eventually bolt and run down the aisles like a rat runs down a familiar maze and grab those Hershey's Kisses. Now, why does it do that for me, but it doesn't do it for other people? Well, you know, we're programmed the same way at the cellular level for survival, the mammal part of us anyway. But because of our ancestry, you know, we've had some things written on our genes. I think, you know, my ancestors survived the famine. Let me explain. 2 months ago, I was out in California, and I'm standing up and doing my seminar in front of all these people. And I said, you know, I really worry about you people. And they're looking at each other like, why? And I said, because everybody out here in California eats salad, and you're all skinny. When the famine comes, you're all going to die. So, now the mammal is pretty interesting in that it overrides your higher mentalities when it comes to survival. So if I say I'm going to go jump off the bridge and I really mean it, I get a running start and I go to jump off the bridge and the mammal grabs the railing. And I say, no, I'm going to do this. So I get another running start and the mammal grabs the railing. They interview me on TV later. Did you just want the attention? No, I really wanted to jump. Why didn't you do it? Something stopped me. That's the mammal. The mammal senses danger. It's almost like having a German Shepherd riding around with you all the time. Did you ever almost fall asleep while driving your car and something jerked you awake? That was the mammal. Now, see, this explains why I hear myself lying to myself when I reach for those Hershey's Kisses. Because the mammal, I think, overrides the higher mentalities when it comes to things like this. And I hear myself saying, I'll only have 2. I know that's a lie, because in my entire life, I've never had just 2 Hershey's Kisses out of a bag. I've always endeavored to eat the whole bag and resentfully share it with my children if they caught me eating it. And I hear myself say, I'll exercise it off. I know that's a lie, because I never exercise. I think exercise causes cancer. Now, as we mature, we grow into a cognitive mentality. When does this start activating in the brain? Well, it's fully formed around the ages of 5, 6, or 7 for most people. For some people, 3, and for other people, not until they're 10. It's a bell curve. How can you tell when yours kicked in? Well, if you go back as far as you can remember, that's when your cognitive mentality was fully formed. Now, how can you tell when a kid's cognitive mentality is fully formed so that you don't do something that the kid's going to remember? Well, the child will start referring to themselves as I, and they'll start forming full sentences. Now, when that happens with a subject and predicate, they're capable of being downloaded with our civilization data. And that's what happens with kids. They're little sponges and they soak it all up. Where do they get this data from? Mom, Dad, Sesame Street, their church, school, their peers. It's an amazing process, because by the time a kid in our civilization is 10 years old, they operate like beings that are 200 years old. Now, we don't think of it that way because we're so used to it, but think about it. All that, if you want them to be bilingual, teach them when they're young. They just soak it up like sponges. Now, is some of this stuff incorrect? Probably. But it's still an amazing process of how much goes in there. And they form a conscience around this time, and the conscience is based on rules and beliefs. It operates something like this. I'm not going to do that because the minister says it's a sin. And I'm not going to do that because Mom says I'll get hurt if I do that. The mammal has a conscience too. It's very primitive conscience is based on stimulus response cause effect. Operates something like this. I'm not going to punch Billy in the face today because I punched him in the face yesterday and he hit me back. That's that conscience. Now, as we mature around our adolescence, our prefrontal lobe starts clicking in, starts showing some activity. And when that happens, you can see the bigger picture of things. You know, they say this is when abstract thought kicks in. That's a misnomer. There's no such thing as abstract thought. All thought comes from the cognitive area. Einstein has told us this. Einstein said he saw and was aware of nuclear physics and a higher mentality. And then he had to drop down to the next lower mentality, which is the cognitive mentality. And that's when he came up with E equals mc squared so he could communicate it to the rest of us, which most of us still don't understand. Now, I'm going to say this a couple different ways because everybody gets this differently. See, this is the part of you that sees yourself. The children don't really have this that much. This is the part of you that sees what you're thinking and decides whether you're going to say it or not. Children don't have this very much. If a kid's thinking something, they're probably saying it. Now, you can inhibit them with the command, shut up. But it's a behavioristic function, not a prefrontal lobe function. This is the part of you that sees what you're feeling and decides whether you're going to express that feeling or not. Children don't really have this very much, if you've noticed. If a kid's feeling something, you can pretty much see what they're feeling. Now, the prefrontal lobe is that part of you that can actually see the possible consequences of what you might be thinking about doing. So somebody comes up to you and says, I'll bet you $50 you can't go down that ski jump back there. So you cognitively assess it and you go, well, I could ski, and look, other people make it down there, so I'll bet you I could. But then your prefrontal lobe projector lights up. And on the screen of your mind, you see yourself screaming down that ski jump at 100 miles an hour. And you go, ooh, boy. And then you see yourself flipping up at the end, landing on your head and possibly crippling yourself. And because your executive functions in your prefrontal lobe, which is insight, foresight, and hindsight, allow you to weigh things out and prioritize things, you do exactly that. Let's see, $50, paraplegia. You know what? I don't think I need that $50. Now, this is the part that is very difficult to talk about, because actually we're using a lower mentality language to talk about a higher mentality, which is an awareness of what's going on around you. Children don't have much awareness of what's going on around them sometimes. I know this because when I'm running down the candy aisle to get my Hershey's Kisses, they don't move out of my way. The parents will move. So we're going to talk about the prefrontal lobe, and when we come back from the break, I'm going to give you an experience of what exactly it is, because it's easier to experience than it is to talk about it.